The United Kingdom is a country found in the British Isles. It is formed by England, Scotland, Wales and Northern Ireland. Many thousands of years back, the Isles were lived in by very old pre-Celtic groups called the beaker culture, a name taken by their special pottery beakers. Not much is known about them, but some think these people started the famous Stonehenge, a set of large standing stones moved from 150 miles off and set up to work as a calendar, showing the days of the summer and winter solstice. Later, groups of Celtic-speaking people came from mainland Europe, who later made up the Brythonic, Gaelic and Pictish peoples. These were not one single people, but many tribes who had a similar pagan faith, tongue and way of life. The Romans invaded, taking over what is now England and Wales, but could not take the Pictish tribes in the north. The Romans started many fights in this land they named Caledonia. But their forts were soon taken over and left behind, and they went back to Hadrian's Wall. Their won lands were made part of the Roman Empire, becoming the province of Britannia. They brought Roman ways and rules, built better roads and bridges, and linked many towns with Roman roads. When the Romans went away, there was a big movement of Germanic tribes. These were the Jutes, Angles and Saxons who spoke Old English. Their coming pushed many Britons to places in Wales, Brittany and a kingdom called Dumnonia. Meanwhile, Scotland slowly changed into 4 kingdoms. The smallest of these were the Scots, who first came from Ireland, the Britons of Strathclyde, the Anglo-Saxon kingdom of Bernicia, and the Picts of Alba. For reasons we don't know, the Jutes vanished from history, but the Angles and Saxons, in time, made 7 kingdoms. Wessex, Sussex, Kent, Essex, East Anglia, Mercia and Bernicia became Northumbria. After Dumnonia fell apart, the last land of Cornwall fought the strong kingdom of Wessex. Cornwall finally came under the rule of Wessex, but it did keep its own culture. Wales at this time was also several different kingdoms. The biggest were Gwynedd in the north, Powys in the east, and Difford in the south. The British Isles soon saw many Norse attackers from Scandinavia. These were the Vikings, and they started to live on many Scottish isles, the Isle of Man, and they even started the city of Dublin in Ireland. The Scots and the Picts then chose to join under Kenneth MacAlpin to make the Kingdom of Alba. The Kingdom of Alba got stronger over time, and in the end, Strathclyde was added to it. At the same time, Danish Vikings came to the Anglo-Saxon kingdoms to take them over. After fighting the King of Wessex, Alfred the Great, the Dane law was made, an area where Danish law had power over the Anglo-Saxons, running the region and its matters. The Anglo-Saxons finally beat the last Viking king of York, Eric Bloodaxe, and Ethelstan became the first king of the English. Still, the new kingdom of Denmark would take England and even start a short-lived Danish line under Snut. The Norsemen had a big effect on the Isles, so it's no surprise some English words come from Norse. After beating strong sea raiders from Ireland, the Western Isles, Scandinavia and Anglo-Saxon forces from Mercia, Gruffydd ap Llywelyn beat his rivals in southwest Wales. Llywelyn became the only Welsh king to ever rule all of Wales. He was beaten by the English Earl Harold Godwinson and killed by his own men, causing the Welsh kingdoms to break apart again. When Edward the Confessor died, there was a fight over who would be next between 4 people. Harold Godwinson was picked as king, and he did defend England from an attack by the Norwegian king Harald Hardrada. But Harold had to move his army south to fight Duke William of Normandy, who had crossed the English Channel. As the story goes, at the Battle of Hastings, Harold was killed by an arrow to the eye, and the Norman attackers won. The new king, William, beat a number of revolts, built a new kind of castle called mortar and baileys, and brought in many changes, like trial by battle and the Domesday Book. The Norman line pushed into South Wales and parts of Ireland, making the Lordship of Ireland. At court, nobles spoke and held meetings in the Anglo-Norman language, which lasted for hundreds of years and left a huge mark on the growth of modern English. After a short civil war, Henry II would marry Eleanor of Aquitaine, setting up the Angevin Empire, starting a long fight with France. Richard the Lionheart kept much of this land and also became a key Christian leader in the Third Crusade, winning big fights against his Muslim opposite, Saladin. Under King John, high taxes were put on his barons to pay for his costly foreign wars. The barons rose up and made John sign the Magna Carta, a paper that set the idea that all were under the law, even the king, making sure of people's rights, the right to fair treatment and the right to a fair trial. Most of North Wales stayed under the rule of Welsh princes until 1216, when Llywelyn the Great became the leader of the Principality of Wales. This stayed so until Edward I, who took Wales in 1284, making it part of England. When King Alexander III died, Scotland was left with 14 people wanting the crown. To stop civil war, the Scottish lords asked Edward V of England to choose a person. John Balliol was picked as king but was always weakened by Edward, who was against Scottish freedom. Edward chose to start many fights to take Scotland and remove King John, which got him the name Hammer of the Scots. Under a brave Scottish knight, William Wallace, the Scots fought back against the English, beating them at the Battle of Stirling Bridge. Edward marched north himself and beat Wallace in battle, but Wallace got away. He was later caught and killed, but his work let Robert the Bruce rise up and beat the English, making sure of Scottish freedom. When the King of France died without a child, Edward III was in line for the crown through his mother. The French court said no to his claim and instead put Philip VI of Valois in power. Edward showed respect to Philip as he owned the lands of Gascony and was basically a servant to the King of France. Because of arguments, Edward said again he should be king and attacked France, starting the 100 Years' War. The English had big wins at the Battle of Crécy, Poitiers and Agincourt because of the better longbow, but could not take France with the coming of Joan of Arc, who raised French spirits and changed the war. When Edward III died, a whole generation was missed in the line of kings, which caused a sharp fight between several claimants. Most of all were the houses of York and Lancaster. Feelings were high until a bloody time of war broke out between these two sides in the Wars of the Roses. It's so deep and complex, this time could be a video by itself. The war ended with the coming of the Tudor line. Henry VIII, wanting an end to his marriage, broke with the church, making his own Church of England. This in the end led to a number of religious fights between future English kings and queens. Between his 6 wives and sea actions, Henry gave Wales a voice in Parliament and made the Kingdom of Ireland, but truly he only held an area called the Pale. Also, Henry's fear and doubt led to tens of thousands of killings, including his friends and wives. During the 1500s, the biggest and strongest empire was Spain under King Philip II. England, under Elizabeth I, was helping Dutch rebels fight Spanish rule, and many English privateers were also taking Spanish silver on its way back from the New World. This made the Spanish king angry, and the last problem came when Elizabeth had Mary, Queen of Scots, killed because she did not want Scotland to become Catholic. The Spanish Armada, made of 130 ships, was sent to attack England. At the Battle of Gravelines, an English wind made the Spanish fleet sail around the British Isles before storms in the north of Scotland wrecked the last ships. To pay them back, the English, led by Sir Francis Drake, gathered their own armada to attack Spain, but this also did not work. Born in this time, William Shakespeare became a famous poet, writer of plays, and actor who added much to English writing. When Queen Elizabeth of England died without a child, her closest male family was James VI of Scotland. James was picked as King of England and Scotland in a personal union, but the countries stayed separate in politics. As the first ruler of all of Great Britain, several tries to kill him were made by Catholic plotters. One such try was the gunpowder plot by Guy Fawkes, who tried to blow up Parliament. After a failed colony called Roanoke, England made a working colony called Jamestown, which would in time become the 13 colonies. At first, trips to the New World were mostly for religious reasons, mainly to change the natives to their belief. But colonies got more valuable, as want for New World plants like tobacco and sugar grew. British ships also held a total control on the moving of captured African slaves that crossed the Atlantic to the Americas. Millions of Africans were sent in tight, terrible states to work on harsh farms in the Americas, and basically became owned by their masters. For 300 years, this went on in the British Empire until it was fully stopped in 1833. This time also saw a wave of plantations in Ireland, where Irish lands were taken and given to English and Scottish settlers. Feelings would grow between Charles I and Parliament. After disagreements, fights between King and Parliament power in England led to the English Civil War. The country split between Parliament supporters, called the Roundheads, and King supporters, called the Cavaliers. Under Oliver Cromwell and the New Model Army, the Parliament supporters beat Charles and killed him for betrayal. Cromwell became Lord Protector and ended the monarchy, but soon after he died, it was brought back under Charles II. Charles II married Catherine of Braganza, and when she came from Portugal, she brought the best drink of all time: tea. Tea had been used by China for hundreds of years, but its coming in the 1600s caught the eye of the English rich and soon pleased every other English person. In 1685, a Catholic James II became king in a mostly Protestant country. James's daughter Mary and her Dutch husband William were both Protestant, and many lords, not happy with the Catholic king, asked William to become king. William found much support when he attacked, and he was soon made King William III in what was called the Glorious Revolution. Though William's backers ran the government, there stayed a large group for James II in the Scottish Highlands. Clan MacDonald of Glencoe was one such group who had not been quick to promise loyalty to the new king. For this reason only, 38 members of the clan were killed in what was called the Massacre of Glencoe. After Scotland's failed colony tries in Nova Scotia and Panama and a money crisis in the 1690s, there was a joining of England and Scotland, making the United Kingdom of Great Britain. The House of Stuart had ruled Britain for just over 100 years, but ended with the death of Queen Anne. Sophia of Hanover was the granddaughter of James VI, and her son George became king. Great Britain soon found itself pulled into several European wars, most notable being the War of the Spanish Succession and the 7 Years' War. Wins in these wars got land for the empire, especially in North America, though it caused a lot of debt. To pay for this debt, King George III ordered high taxes be put on the 13 colonies. This, with other reasons, led to the American War of Independence, and with money help from France and Spain, the Americans won. The East India Company, which was started by Elizabeth I, had grown fast, and even ran its own army and held a large amount of land. The company had built strong stores where they traded with many Indian rulers, getting important costly goods like cloth and spices. One of the most important cities of all was Bengal, as it had a big population that could be taxed. The leader of Bengal, Robert Clive, ordered that the people grow opium to send to China instead of growing food, as it turned out to be a great way to make money. However, when a famine hit, it caused the deaths of millions of people. At the same time, Captain James Cook arrived at New Zealand and the southeast coast of Australia, though he was not the first to find the area because of past Portuguese and Dutch explorers. But unlike the Dutch and Portuguese, Britain said it was their new prison colony, called New South Wales, with the first prisoners arriving in 1788. A new danger had come from France, French Emperor Napoleon Bonaparte. Napoleon had come to rule most of Europe, but Britain's good point was that it was an island, and the Royal Navy had become a major power at sea. Attack on Britain was almost not possible, and in a number of groups, Napoleon was beaten. By the end of the Napoleonic Wars, Britain was growing fast into a superpower based on their top skill in shipbuilding. Also in Ireland, the Great Famine struck, a sickness-killing potato plants. Ireland, which had joined with Britain, needed this crop a lot for food, but the British government made Ireland send out what little food they had to other places. Without any help or food, Ireland's population fell by half because of hunger and moving to countries like the United States. Things were not looking so good in India either, as India was fighting against company rule. The East India Company had hired many Indian soldiers known as sepoys who were under the order of British soldiers. These sepoys got more and more unhappy, and a rebellion soon happened. Yet it quickly did not work due to no unity between Indians. After the rebellion, the British government took direct control, with Queen Victoria being named Empress of India. During the 1800s, the world was changed forever by the Industrial Revolution. Society was changed by technology steps forward and more use of machines, and would push Britain to world power. Some of the best new things and inventions were the sewing machine, the fire extinguisher, steam-powered engines and turbines, the electric motor and photography. The telegraph was also a major invention, as a message could now be sent from Britain to India in a few hours. The making of railways and trains also changed transport for good. Instead of travelling days by horse and cart, it now only took a few hours by train. Engineering and taking steps forward not only joined the empire, they started a making boom like no other. People moved from country areas to city centres for work. Making reached its highest point, but the results of many people moving caused very tight and dirty cities. However, with these problems that were made, it caused a better sewer system. Newcastle focused on shipbuilding, Manchester the cotton industry, Liverpool became a major trading centre, Middlesbrough fixed itself on iron and steel works, the presence of iron ore, limestone and large coal deposits in the West Midlands and South East Wales caused the starting of ironworks, and Scotland grew fast in the linen industry. The Victorian time also saw a big change in society, as families from the poorest backgrounds got schooling. Though it was much tighter than today's rules, the 1860s also saw the rise of the best food mix ever, fish and chips. Near the end of the 1800s, European powers met at the Berlin Conference to split Africa between them. A group in South Africa known as the Boers, who were first Dutch settlers, proved hard for the British. The Boers lived in two nations, the Free Orange State and the Republic of Transvaal, and both fought British rule using guerrilla war. To fight this, the British placed many women and children in their tens of thousands into concentration camps, where many died from hunger and sickness. Britain became a major part of the First World War, and many men gladly offered to serve and protect their country. The Great War, as it was called, saw the use of new technology such as dreadnoughts, warplanes, artillery, machine guns, grenades, chemical weapons, bolt-action rifles, and the first use of the tank. Many faced terrible conditions in the trenches and saw awful battles. Millions died, and many returned home shocked by what they had seen. The empire reached its largest land size in 1921, after getting land from Germany and the falling Ottoman Empire. The empire now ruled over 400 million people and held 1/4 of the world's land. But the truth was, Britain could no longer pay to build bases or ships to defend its empire as it had before 1914. Ireland finally managed to break away from British rule and made the Irish Free State, and soon after became a republic. The Second World War was more cruel and awful than the first. Most of Europe had fallen under German control, and under Prime Minister Winston Churchill, Britain stood strong during the Battle of Britain and the Blitz. Britain were very good at stopping and reading enemy messages, with people like Alan Turing, who broke the German Enigma code. The war ended with an Allied win, but many nations within the empire felt a want for freedom, and it was clear the empire was about to break. India was one such nation who were ready to say their freedom. Mahatma Gandhi used a non-violent way, and this worked as soon after India got its freedom. The Commonwealth of Nations was made to better ties and money links with old colonies. This still is today, with 53 members joined by language, history, culture, and shared beliefs in democracy. The British Empire officially ended with Hong Kong, Britain's last colony, being given to China in 1997. The empire did many bad things to many different people, forcing their culture and way of life, while often destroying native ones. On the other hand, this brought about globalization and the joining of the modern world. And without such new things and industrial growth, the world might have been a very different place. The United Kingdom suffered a small money drop in 2008, but has since gotten better. It is a multicultural society, with each area keeping a sense of its history and culture. If you ever visit, look for the Welsh cake, the haggis, the whiskey, the Chelsea bun, the parmo, the Cumberland sausage, the Yorkshire pudding, or the Cornish pasty. The UK stays a member of NATO, United Nations, and the World Trade Organization, and uses the pound money. In 2016, a vote ended with 51.9% of voters choosing to leave the European Union, though the countries within the United Kingdom became split on the issue, leading to many questions of its future togetherness.